Hello and welcome to my video showing you how you can create your own Cosmic Smash book. And we're going to start with the cover. Little word about the books that you might use. You just need to start with a very simple exercise book or composition book. And the one I'm going to use for today is this one. And what I've done so far is I've created my cover. I've used a piece of watercolour paper and on the back of that I have written my intention. You can use anything to cover your book. I've used brown paper and stuck pictures on it. You can use scrapbooking paper, anything like that. But I'm going to show you today how to cover your book using a piece of paper that you may have created yourself. And all I've done at the moment, just to get started, is I've trimmed it down so I've got a little bit of a space behind round each page, so just a little bit bigger than the book, and I've just folded it to make sure that that is going to close okay. Yeah, that looks good. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold it along that edge. So I'm just going to move the book out of the way. And I'm going to put a crease in here. So again, I want my book to be very my cover to be very slightly larger than my book, like that. And so my other fold is going to be along there, like so. So Cosmic Smash booking, when you create your book, we're going to engage all of the senses. And in this first step, the sense that we are engaging is our visual. So we're making, my book is very colourful. There's actually a really nice texture to this quite thick watercolour paper as well. There's almost a sort of leathery feel to it, which is really, I'm really enjoying. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stick that down. Now I find it works better on my book. I use a strong glue stick. And I find it works better if I put my glue all over my cover. Sometimes I write my intention on the cover of the book. Sometimes I write it on here. For this one, I've actually written it on the cover paper. Like that. And then we're going to glue down here. I think as this is quite thick, I might just run some glue along there, because as I said, it's a very thick watercolour paper, this. Add a little bit of reinforcement to that. There we go. And then I can glue down this edge. Now a lot of this will get covered in the process of making the book, so I'm not too worried about the fact that I've got a little bit of paper showing there. And then some more glue on the back. And you just want to make sure that when you close your book, you don't get it the cover too tight. And then the other edge, this is the back of my book. If you don't want to create a cover, you can simply stick images onto the front of your composition book. So you could just take a plain cover like that and stick some images down onto the front and the back of that. But I just show you the slightly more complicated way of covering the book like that. So that is your first stage in creating your smash book. Step 2 in creating your book is engaging the sense of touch, and we're going to really start to connect with our book with lots of handling, and we start by gluing together our pages. So that one I'm just going to ignore because that's going to, I think, will become part of a pocket. And what I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue around the edge of the page and just stick those together. So turn over a page, a little bit of glue around the edge and smooth it down. And this is a lovely mindful part of making your book. And as I am creating, strengthening these pages, I love to think about where the paper has come for my book, connect with the energy of the trees, of Mother Earth, and it's just a really nice, sometimes I will just pop some music on and sit very quietly doing this stage. Okay, so that's the last page, just glued, and I've really enjoyed just connecting with my book. My DNA is embedded into this book, and there's a real sense of enjoying stroking these pages. So we've got colour on the front of our book, we have engaged our sense of touch as we've handled each of these pages, and now the really fun bit is engaging the sense of sound as we crinkle our pages. So I'm just going to turn my book like that because I find it's just slightly easier to do it for me to do it from this way around. And what we do is we take our page and we crinkle and scrunch, and this is absolutely a wonderful stage to really engage with your book. The inner critic, the perfectionist in us has to just rest as we crinkle these pages. And you're going to do that all the way through your book. And again, I like to put on some music, or just go and sit somewhere quietly and really listen to the sound of these pages being scrunched. Okay, so that's the last of my pages, all scrunched. And I've enjoyed listening to those pages, and we now have a book which is really beginning to take on some character and some life. So the next step, we are going to go back to our visual sense, and we're going to gild the edges of our pages, and I'm going to show you my favourite way of doing that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we gild the edges of the book, which just really adds interest to the pages. And I like to do this in a little tray. I do tend to get in a bit of a mess with this. There's a couple of ways of doing this. You can just simply get a brush. I've chosen some metallic-y, shimmery colours here, and you can just take a dryish brush and just touch the edges of your book all the way along there. If you hold the pages together, it's sometimes a little bit easier to do that. But my absolute favourite way of getting and what I like is the way this it gives you lots of dribbles down the pages of your book, which I particularly like. So I've added a little bit of water to my paint, and I'm just going to this. You can see this is really quite liquidy and watery now. And then holding the pages of my book together, I'm going to pop that in there so I don't get in too much of a mess. I'm just going to add that to the book, and this is where the water is going to dribble down the pages, adding and gilding those pages with colour. A little bit on the outside of the book there, but that's fine. And you just work your way around your book. And if you use the metallic, any paints which have got a little bit of a shimmer in, this is really, really yummy. Almost wants a little bit more water, I think. And this peacocky turquoise blue sneaks into a lot of my books. It's one of my muse's favourite colours. So just making sure that paint is really watery and wet. Making sure that they all get a little bit of colour. and allowing the paint. You can see, if I just open the book to show you, the effect that you get is you getting dribbles of paint beginning to come down the pages here. So actually I can see that I want a lot more water. So this of course is entirely your own choice, your own personal preference of whether you like these dribbles on your pages or not. I happen to really like this. So you can even pour some of this down your pages. Cosmic Smashbooking is very much about allowing your inner child to play, and I know that my inner child particularly loves this step of putting that paint on the edges and then enjoying seeing all the dribbles. The way I dry this is with a hairdryer or a heat gun. I'll just show you the start of that process. I get my heat gun and begin to dry those edges. Okay, so the last step in finishing off your Cosmic Smashbook is to add the sense of smell, and there's a couple of ways of doing this. You can either use essential oils. This one's bergamot, but I also quite like using, I've got this perfume which it's called Harmony, and I think I'm going to use that. I will admit it doesn't smell great on me, but it smells amazing in my books. So I am going to just add the sense of smell to my books, and this gives me an opportunity as well to go through my pages and just make sure that they are all separated. After you can begin to see the effect of the gilding, as I've used quite watery paint, how that comes through. So just choose a way of adding some, activating that sense of smell in your book. Don't necessarily add it on all the pages, and you can see that here I've got some that are just stuck together at the edges. So it just gives me that opportunity to go through my book and make sure that the pages are separated nicely. I don't worry too much if they sometimes they snag a little bit, or but that, for me, that all just adds to the texture of the book. Still a little bit wet. Okay. And then the final step is to add some ribbons. Now, intentional creativity is very much part of Cosmic Smashbooking, and so I always like to add a red thread. It doesn't always necessarily go in the centre, but this is a ribbon I try and use in all my books, and you just want to have a length of ribbon that is just a little bit bigger than your book, that allows you to tie it. And this is going to strengthen the spine as well as adding some really pretty texture to your book. So I've got my red thread in there. I'm going to turn to the middle of my book, if I can find the middle. There's the middle. And this one is going to go in the centre. This is actually just a piece of fabric, so you can use ribbons, you can use thread. This is a piece of fabric that I've trimmed down, which actually ties really nicely. And you want to add 6 or 7 threads. Because of the theme of this book, I'm choosing some quite natural ribbons, but I have used lace and really shiny ribbons. This book is calling for something a little bit more on the natural line. Although this blue ribbon showed up, and I think because of the blue in the cover, that wants to go towards the back of the book. So, and very much listen to your inner wisdom, your muse, who will very clearly tell you what ribbons and threads she would like to see in your book. And you just want to tie those. You can have them tied at the top or the bottom, or a mixture. For the sewers among you, this is actually just a piece of old bias tape, but that wants to show up in here. And you can add beads to these, or any other dangles, for want of a better word. I'll show you an example of one of my books. This one has actually got quite a lot of beads and little twiddly bits on. So listen to your muse, see what wants to go in there. So we've got some ribbons, we've got the sense of smell, and last but not least, I'm going to add these little tea bag papers to remind me of the sense of taste. This is going to be a really tasty book. You could add chocolate wrappers, you could add something reminding you of healthy eating, if that's something that you feel you want to be reminded of at the moment. And I'm just going to pop those in here. I love using these tea bag, so just put a little bit of glue on there and pop those in there, and I will doodle round this. So this front section here is actually going to make a pocket. I'm going to create a pocket from this. I've got that flap there, and then I can create a pocket to tuck in pictures or things that want to be added into my book at a later stage. And I think I will journal around these tea bags, perhaps write my intention to add to what this book is going to reveal to me.